the mistake that Nancy Pelosi might be making, that somehow impeachment might hurt the Democrats, or more importantly, it seems to me that the net of not impeaching won't hurt the Democrats. Because I actually think there's a bigger price to pay for Democrats if they don't impeach, with the assumption that it's not going to go anywhere. I've been saying for a while that I think Nancy Pelosi should get out there and say, look, we're going to impeach because part of our responsibility is to hold the president to account. But we know that he's going to still be in office come November 2020 because the Republicans will do nothing. They don't believe in good government. They don't believe in holding the president to account. They are just partisan hacks who put their party above the presidency. And one of the things she can cite, if she does this in my hypothetical, is Justin Amash, who really puts lie to the notion. And he doesn't make this bipartisan, because this is one of my pet peeves. When one member of another party steps up and says, I'll vote with the other party, that it's in some way a bipartisan thing. It's not bipartisan. Mm-hmm. But what it is it's no longer just partisan. It's somewhere in between. It signals to the voters of the Republican Party who could just say all the impeachment stuff, that's just partisanship. It now looks like it's not just partisanship, because definitionally, if someone from the Republican Party can agree with this, it's necessarily not partisan. It's not bipartisan. It's just apartisan on some level. And I think Nancy Pelosi, with a combination, and we should talk more about Carson and Mnuchin in a moment, but a combination of Mnuchin's performance and Carson's performance this week and the revelations from the IRS, and with Justin Amash, and I know you've written about Justin Amash, so we can talk more about this. I think she is feeling the pressure. And this week on Wednesday, she said, before going in with Donald Trump, that Donald Trump is covering stuff up, and we know it. And I think that she is starting to basically go to plan B, which is, if she can't avoid impeachment, then her conversion to signing on to impeachment is going to be very public, very deliberate, very slow. And it's going to start with her saying, like, there's a cover up. And I think that's what we're starting to see.
I agree with you. I mean, something did shift this past week, and some of it had to do with, I think that when Trump instructed Don McGahn, the former White House counsel, who was a pivotal character in the Mueller report, that he was not to testify. And of course, McGahn, being him, he's a Republican hack too, although apparently he didn't really feel like obstructing justice. So he did.
Well, he also knows he's a hack, but he also knows the law, and he's had a lot of clients who have gone to prison, frankly.
Exactly. So he didn't feel like, committing perjury on behalf of Donald Trump, but he's, obviously looking for any way out of having to go public with this, and he went along with it. He doesn't have to. People, just because the White House claims executive privilege, he's not an employee of the White House, and he could go out and testify. There's nothing that Trump could do about that. But of course, he didn't do that. But nonetheless, that seems to have sort of broken the logjam among the members of the Judiciary Committee, including Jerry Nadler, the chairman. And they had a big meeting this week and confronted Nancy Pelosi and said, look, it's time. And she put them off and said, now wait and whatever. But that seems to have been a moment. You started to see people like Representative Salon on TV and certain other ones who've not up to now said they were in favor of impeachment coming forward. Right. And that's on the heel of some presidential candidates who've done so too. Both Warren and Harris came out early. O'Rourke came out with a very strong statement in favor of impeachment. And others are sort of saying, well, I'm leaving it up to the Congress, but they're not ruling it out. So, there has been pressure coming. And of course, people like you and me and anybody who's got, a platform has been screaming at Nancy Pelosi, and the activist base of the party has been making its wishes known. So, the pressure is coming on her. And at the same time, I think that Trump's behavior which, maybe it's this bluff, this game of chicken that he's playing. Maybe he thinks he wants impeachment, or maybe this is just his way of buying time and trying to keep from having to face, the music here. But whatever it is, his behavior has pushed it too. Instead of doing the smart thing and continuing to sort of pretend like he's a president and having meetings and being decent and hospitable to the Congress, and kind of saying, well, we really need to work this through the courts, and we need to, do this. They're not doing that. They're just basically saying no to everything. And William Barr is out there giving interviews to Fox News and sounding like the worst kind of Trump toady and sycophant. So, pressure is coming from that side as well. And as a result, Pelosi has clearly moved off the dime. I don't think there's any doubt. When she said it was a cover-up, that's a very evocative phrase that goes right to Watergate, and it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. But it's a cliche. It's something everybody in the country understands. Using those words was deliberate, and it was a way of signaling that she has moved off of her position, which is has been fatuous, to be honest. This idea nobody wants to hear about it. We just want to talk about kitchen table issues. That just isn't going to fly. And maybe I'm not giving her enough credit for strategically doing this and thinking the whole thing through and thinking that she's just been pushed into it, but I do know that it's important that people push on these things, because I don't think her position was tenable. And maybe she was saying, make me do it, the old FDR thing. I don't know. But whatever it is, it does seem to be happening. And I don't know how long it will take. And I don't know what the catalyst for just basically, flipping the switch on impeachment. But we're closer this week than we were the week before. I think that's pretty obvious.
Oh, yeah. I think by far, without a doubt. And, I think the part of the miscalculation that the Trump administration may be making is, I think they are trying to dare the Democrats to impeach. But while they do this, while they try and put the Democrats between a rock and a hard place, right? And I think the Democrats are, in many respects, in between a rock and a hard place. But the fact is, I think the hard place is a little bit harder than the rock in this instance, and that they're going to have to go for impeachment. The problem that the Trump administration, I think, has is that they can overreach, right? Like, this is a game of chicken that they're playing, and I think that they could be pressing on the accelerator just a little bit too much. When Steve Mnuchin goes in, and let's talk about that. We'll take a quick break. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about the Ben Carson testimony this week, too. That was stunning. Just stunning disregard for Congress. And this is it is permeating the entire executive branch, this notion that they can disregard Congress. And again, I think that's a bit of a problem, because if the idea is by the Trump administration, we're going to coax the Democrats into impeaching us, they're doing too good of a job on some level, because I think the American public at one point is going to say, hey, maybe this is warranted much quicker than the White House expects. But let's take a quick break. We'll talk more about this on the other side.